Hi guys, in this video I'm going to talk about the stages of relationship with the narcissist and the sex, how the sex goes in these relationships typically. So in the beginning, when you're first with the narcissist, there is love bombing, and they are using sex to hook you in. They know that sex creates oxytocin, it creates a bonding chemical. People get attached to people that they're having like really consistent sex with, right? And so they know, a narcissist knows that if they can hook you in with the sex, then they can get you tied to them emotionally and trapped in the relationship. And typically, if they're doing that, if they're rushing the sex, you know that they're not creating the other parts, which is the emotional intimacy, right before the sex. Like I have a rule now that I will not have physical intimacy with someone unless there is emotional intimacy, commitment, and trust that's been built and established, right? I just won't do it. That's one of my boundaries. So, but with the narcissist, they are typically bum rushing the sex, and they are trying to do that so that they can create the dynamic of power and control over you and get you hooked into their vortex. So typically that sex is amazing, and they'll have you on a pedestal. They'll tell you how gorgeous you are, how smart you are, how amazing, how they've never had such good sex, how you're just, you're just beautiful, gorgeous, handsome, whatever. Lots of flattery. I'm now very trepidatious when somebody is overly flattering. That is actually a red flag for me, because I'm like, you know what? I want somebody who's normal, who gives me compliments that are, appropriate based on whatever happened. But I don't want somebody who's like overly flattering and like love bombing me and bum rushing me. I'm very, very careful now if somebody is doing that. It's a red flag. I know it can be very compelling, especially if you're codependent and you have this deep hole inside of you where you don't feel good enough, you don't feel worthy, you don't feel lovable. This can be very intoxicating when a narcissist is telling you everything that you always wanted to hear and that you don't tell yourself. So we can be particularly susceptible to this kind of love bombing because we feel that we're not lovable or not worthy, and a narcissist can make you feel like $1 million when they first meet you during the idealization phase. And keep in mind, they have you on a pedestal, right? So they're, they just think you're amazing. They've never met anyone like you. You're their soulmate, blah, blah, blah. It's how they hook you, right? So just take things slow. One way to avoid getting into this trap is to take things slow and really do not let the physical intimacy be a super quick thing. Build the emotional intimacy, the trust, the commitment, the integrity before you get sexual with a person. So I think that's a really good way to sort of weed out some of these narcissists, these toxic people. So then what's going to happen is once the that's the idealization phase. Then the middle phase is the devaluation phase, right? And that is where if they could either be a somatic or cerebral narcissist. There's other types too, but if they're the somatic narcissist, they may do stuff like want a lot of sex, uncomfortable sex, be putting you in positions where you feel weird, asking you to do things that are against your boundaries, making you feel very sort of violated. It could be almost borderline rape. They could be pushing sex, insisting on it, using it, when you're upset with them, forcing you to have sex with them. I mean, it could be that extreme. It can also be with the cerebral. They tend to do this other thing where they use it more withholding. If they'll withhold sex, they'll use it to punish you. They'll use it to control you and to manipulate you. So usually with the cerebral types, they tend to be more addicted to porn. They tend to prefer a computer to have sex with, and to be very masturbatory in their sex lives. With the cerebral or with the somatic, they tend to have multiple sex partners. They hire prostitutes. They will have it be into BDSM sometimes. I mean, they may have, both of them may be pretending to be monogamous, pretending to be committed, pretending to be in a long-term marriage, and they're having like same-sex hookups. They're hiring prostitutes. They're having sex with multiple people. Both can do that, but typically the cerebral will be more inclined to use withholding. Both typically do use withholding, but especially if you want sex, which is normal. If you're in a long-term relationship with somebody, it's normal to want sex. That's part of what makes relationships different than friendships, right? So, you may, during this devaluation, you may feel like there's nothing you can do that's good enough. Like you're not sexy enough. Like they may, the somatics especially may want to try to get you to, get some plastic surgery, or they'll little, degrading comments here and there about how you look, how you're just not sexy enough. The cerebrals will tend to just never give you compliments. They never make you feel sexy. They're very withholding about everything, withholding of compliments, withholding of affection, withholding of cuddling, withholding of French kissing, withholding of sex. They, notice this a lot of times with the narcissists, they have a hard time with French kissing because French kissing is very intimate, right? And they can have sex with you, but they won't kiss you, or they can have oral sex with you, but they won't kiss you. Like that's kind of weird, right? That's a red flag. I mean, it's not always the case that it's not that everyone who doesn't French kiss has that. Some people who don't French kiss is because they have trauma. They could even be the codependent. They have trauma and they're uncomfortable with intimacy because it's terrifying to them for other reasons. So I'm not saying everyone who's in that category has that issue, but it certainly can be an issue. So, with these narcissists during the devaluation, you feel like there's nothing you can do that's good enough. Like you can't please them. You're not pretty enough. You're not sexy enough. And they will either do this through overtly telling you that, or if they're more the cerebral, it'll be implied. You will think that there's something wrong with you. Like you're flawed. You're not, there's something wrong with you. And they are very good at making you feel that way. Like basically intimating or telling you that there's something wrong with you. And that's why they don't want to have sex with you. They'll put it all on you. When the truth is, the reason they don't want to have sex with you is because they're having sex with multiple people. They are avoiding intimacy at all costs. They are having sex with prostitutes. They have an addiction to pornography. They are actually the problem. The reason they don't want to have sex with you is because of their sickness, right? But they're going to try to put it on their partner. And if you're a codependent, you tend to be like, oh, there must be something wrong with me. Oh, it is my fault. Maybe I need to work out more. Maybe I need to lose weight. Maybe I need to get some plastic surgery. Maybe I need to be willing to do BDSM with this person, or whatever it is, to people please and to like improve yourself, because you tend to think everything's your fault and you just need to fix yourself or make yourself more attractive. And I would challenge that. And I would ask you to consider that the problem is not you. Problem is them and their hidden life and their secret sex life and their inability to have a truly connected, emotionally intimate relationship with another human being, right? So you're actually not the problem. So stop internalizing it and stop thinking you're the problem. Now, then the third phase is the discard. And typically the discard is going to happen when that narcissist has secured a new source of supply, a primary supply. If you're their primary grade A supply, they need to replace you with somebody else, right? So that person typically also has no idea that this narcissist has a double life. They have a deviant sexual life. They're addicted to porn. They have a sex addiction problem. That person has no idea. They just think that narcissist is doing the same love bombing with that person that they did with you. And typically that person is probably also a trauma survivor or a codependent. So that person is going to be really susceptible to these, narcissistic manipulation. And, they can be really pulled in because it's very compelling. And remember how it was for you. And you might have seen some red flags, but you probably ignored them. So, again, sex with a narcissist, it's all about power, control, validation, supply, manipulation. They don't care about you. They care about them, getting their needs met. It's all they care about. It's about performance. It's about, sometimes they'll perform to be the Casanova lover. It's all about performance. There's nothing in there that has to do with love, connection, commitment, reciprocity, building emotional intimacy, being loving, snuggling, cuddling, feeling loved and cherished. That is not how it is for them at all. So you might notice that this sex with them is very devoid of emotions, right? Especially during the devaluation, because they don't care to put up the fake mask anymore like they did during the love bombing. So you just may feel like there's something really empty and vacant in this person. And I would suggest that you really listen to your intuition around that. These people are damaged, right? They are very pathological. And if you're having sex with a narcissist, you're letting I think it's almost like letting this darkness into you, or being around the darkness. And you might not be aware that you're even with a narcissist, but if you're seeing somebody using withholding, somebody using sex to control, somebody making you feel demeaned or diminished, or like you're not good enough, you're not sexy enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not handsome enough, you need to get, if you're feeling like you've got to like go out and get some freaking plastic surgery in order to be loved, then that is a problem. So I would just really check in with your body, because our bodies don't lie to us. Our bodies are going to tell us the truth. Our body is going to tell us what's going on. And you might start feeling this like aversion to this person, because if you really get in tune with your body, it's going to tell you the truth that something is not right here. And even if you were with a covert narcissist who's very good at their mask, and a high-level sociopath, and they may be very good at performing normal, your body is going to tell you something is off. The sexual trauma that people in these relationships go through, emotionally, psychologically, sometimes physically, is egregious. I suggest when you get out of the relationship, you really got to do a lot of healing on yourself before you let another person in sexually. I have a policy where I will not have sex with someone unless there's emotional intimacy built, trust, and commitment. And that takes time. So I'm very careful about, I want to be very careful about not having sex with somebody right away. So if somebody is bum rushing you and like really trying to, grab you in with the sex, to me, that's a real red flag. And I'm starting to try really hard to listen to my body and my intuition. And if I don't feel safe, if I'm not feeling safe with somebody, if I'm feeling like they're pushing me on the sex too quickly, that is a huge red flag. People need to be able to respect your boundaries. And if you say, hey, look, I don't really do sex without emotional intimacy and commitment, and they ignore that, or they act as if you're being silly for setting that boundary, that is a red flag. Keep setting these boundaries. Keep being healthy. Protect yourself. Only you can protect yourself. It is your job to protect yourself. And I think it's absolutely, people that are boundary respecters are going to respect your boundaries. And if you need for that to go very slow, then they will respect it. And they will not put all of their needs and wants above your own and above your safety. So really be careful, I think, out there, and just take that part really, really slow. That's my suggestion. And really look for what your body is telling you about this person, and what something's off about the sex. Listen to that. So thank you so much, and I hope you're thriving and surviving and having a wonderful day.